This is a Flying Llama Studios production. Visit flyinglamastudios.net for more information.
And hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, welcome to this week's Babblefish. My name's Daniel, and that over there is the collector of many things, Mr. Mark Wilson. I don't know.
Some things.
Yeah, the collector of many wonderful and interesting things. I'm literally just making it up. I'm looking at the shelf behind you, and I just had to come up with something on the fly, so there we go, that'll do.
No, all the Funko Pops and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So the collector of many weird and wonderful things.
Well, geek, nerd stuff, yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show. My name's Daniel, as I said, and we are mostly an entertainment-focused podcast show thing. We talk about TV, movies, games, anything in the news, tech news, anything slightly geeky, slightly nerdy, really. And we talk about it here for an hour, and we usually talk about a movie towards the end of the show. And this week we're going to be talking about another one of your picks, actually, this week. I think it was... I forget the name of it now. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, that's the one.
Which was I had to think about it, but I had to think about that one for a second. Yeah.
I quite often forget the titles as well.
Why don't I just watch? I mean, considering I literally just watched it 2 hours ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. I talk about leaving it to the last minute.
Yeah. I
ended
watched it Monday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Monday.
Okay. Well,
May have been Sunday actually.
I mean, you might have just blanked it from your mind because it was so horrific.
Well,
I mean, parts of it were pretty horrific.
yeah, that's true. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into it later. It was but yeah, we can blame Mark for that one.
Well, yeah. I guess.
I mean, it was interesting. I started watching it. I was just like, sort of half an hour into it. This is getting weird. And then like an hour into it, I was like, this definitely is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of it, I'm just like, this is the stuff of nightmares. It really is. So, yeah. Anyway, so as Mark said, we'll be talking about that a little later. But
yeah.
Anyway, how are you? How's things? How's life?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, staying at home, working at home.
Yeah, Grogu's keeping you company.
Yeah, Grogu's keeping me good company.
Yeah, well, for those of you that don't actually know what that means, we also broadcast the show on YouTube and Twitch and a few other things as well. So if you're watching the show, Mark's got a little Grogu that he's kind of attached to his microphone arm.
Yeah.
And it's kind of clinging on for dear life, and it looks a little precarious, but there we go. It's still there, like 2 weeks later. So.
And if you don't know who Grogu is, he's what was called Baby Yoda in Mandalorian, but he's now called Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandalorian is a spin-off of Star Wars. If you don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure most people have watched The Mandalorian by now that are going to. But yeah. Anyway, so what's been going on with me? Hello, cat. Your timing's amazing.
Mm.
He always does this. Poor guy.
Bye, cat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's a poor. The thing is, he's a really high maintenance cat, and we got him from for those of you listening that haven't actually met or heard Professor before. We got him from the Cats Protection League, and he was I think he came in from a farm. I think it was just basically just this feral cat that was living on this farm. And yeah, he was he's always been high maintenance because I don't think he was ever really introduced to people at a very young age, so he's always been a bit weird.
He was
like extremely neurotic. Yeah, and we've had to put up with a lot of weirdness from old Professor, but you know, I'd say we've kind of gotten used to it now. So that's all I really had to say on that one. But he is like possibly the most neurotic cat you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I don't regret doing it. It's good to give him a home, I suppose. But I would really like to get a dog at some point. I would like to do that. But
well, yeah. Once you've moved and settled in,
but we can't even then. Even then, it's the fact that I just don't think a dog would, or the cat would get on with the dog. I just don't see that happening.
Well, there's plenty of households have both.
Yeah, but they're normal. Like Professor's
that's
not.
True.
Professor's not normal.
Yeah.
That's as far from normal. So yeah. Anyway, so what was I gonna say? What have I been up to this week? Not much really. Just going into work and all the usual stuff. Really, to be honest with you, it's another week. Just going into work and trying to keep focused. It's something I've been banging my head against my desk for the last week, trying to finish a project that just seems to be taking forever, and it's just. I hate computers. I've come to that conclusion that I am at the point in my life now where I legitimately hate computers.
Yeah, you've been at that stage for
a long time.
10 years. So.
Yeah. It's just annoying that I know them so well, and it's my job to keep them working, and I hate them. I just hate them.
I think back when we were teenagers and we had weekend jobs and that, and we were saving all our money to buy
computer stuff,
components and things.
It was a novelty back then.
It was because we weren't actually working in the industry.
And now we're working in the industry. We do everything we can to get away from them. Yeah.
Well, I don't really, but.
But yeah, I mean, that's certainly the case for me. I mean, although I have to use them, I don't. It's not the computers themselves that interest me anymore. Like I literally couldn't care less. What interests me is what I can do with them. In terms of drawing and animation and stuff like that. I like being creative with them, and I use them for entertainment purposes as well, for computer games and stuff, and talking to people on Zoom or whatever, and recording this.
Yes, but so it's not so much about hardware; it's more about the software. It's
more what I can do with it. That's the thing.
The
and
software.
It's like I honestly couldn't care less about actual computers. I really couldn't care less. Legitimately. So I just. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I've been doing a lot of drawing, and Stephen has been doing a lot of animating. We're making a 30-second cartoon. It's going to be the new intro for Flying Llama Studios, which is it's coming together.
Yeah. Because you were storyboarding it at the weekend, and then you had it on Discord.
Yeah.
So we could watch, and that was kind of hilarious. It's like, what's going on here?
What's going on?
Weird stick figures that
don't
quite work.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't going to draw them properly. I just had to.
No.
But yeah, it was. We got the storyboard done, and now we're just slowly working through things, and we're getting there. I think we've got the first sort of 10 seconds animated, which doesn't sound like an awful lot, but
it's a process.
It is a process, and it will be good when it's done, and I'm looking forward to seeing the finished thing. Incidentally, if you'd like to look at it, I'm sure it'll be up in a couple of weeks. We'll probably let you know, but it should be on our YouTube page. Just search for Flying Llama Studios. You'll see us. We're the logo of the flying llama, or the llama on the rocket, anyway. But yeah. So apart from that, just trying to keep busy and trying to keep sane. There's not an awful lot in the way of news this week either, is there? I mean, there's a few bits, but
depends on what you want to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, there was. Yeah.
Entertainment news. I just look at most of the entertainment news at the moment, thinking, well, that's mostly boring, or that's clickbait.
That's it.
Which also equals boring for the majority of the time.
Well, I mean, there's quite. I mean, there was an article here that we found that simply says scientists have taught spinach to send emails, and it could warn us about climate change. So that immediately sort of conjures images of, spinaches in front of keyboards going, "Dear sir, madam, I am a spinach, and I would like to inform you that climate change is a real thing."
Why did I just think that you sounded like Eddie Izzard?
"Dear sir, madam, to whom it may concern, I am a spinach, and I am most displeased." But no,
the way you said it just sounded so much like Eddie Izzard in my head.
Well, Anyway, so basically, long story short, is that it's not so much spinach
It's
is
a
set.
lie.
It is a bit of a lie. I mean, if they had taught spinaches to send emails, I'd be genuinely impressed.
Sentient spinach coming for you.
It's like one of your movie picks, isn't it? It's like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Attack of the Killer Spinach.
It's spinach versus Popeye.
Yeah, when the spinach fights back.
Yeah.
I am a displeased spinach. For some reason, they're all very well spoken in my mind. Anyway, so so it sounds like something on a futuristic action film, but scientists have managed to engineer spinach plants which are capable of sending emails. Not true, as the article goes on to explain. So I think this was a little bit clickbaity, but it was good for a laugh. Through nanotechnology, engineers have transformed spinach into sensors capable of detecting explosive materials. The plants are then able to wirelessly relay this information back to scientists. Now, what they do is that when these plants detect those elements in the soil, they emit. What do they emit? Isn't it like an infrared sort of?
It said nitro aromatics in groundwater.
Cool. And then infrared cameras can sense that. And then it's the cameras that send the email alert to scientists. Yeah. So, I mean, the whole idea was that they were just going to plant these things everywhere, and then they'd be able to tell if there were like explosive materials in the ground. It's good for detecting, landmines and stuff like that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that would probably be quite good.
But it's so it was a little bit clickbaity, and I genuinely in my head I just saw this spinach sitting at the keyboard going, meh. But obviously that wasn't the case, which I was a little disappointed about. But
yeah, that would have been so much more.
I just imagine it with a monocle and a cigar as well. They would have to have a monocle and a cigar.
But sentient spinach. I mean, it's almost Day of the Triffids sort of thing.
It is. You'd never look at a salad the same way again, would you?
I mean, that would certainly stop some kids not eating their salad.
Think of the spinach.
But it'll make you strong like Popeye.
I absolutely loathe these websites that have these. A few years ago they had this click to accept all the cookies.
Yep.
And now those pop-ups are getting more and more obnoxious all the time. It's like,
it's not just cookies though, is it? It's all sorts of random
tracking and Google Analytics and yeah.
Do you accept this? No, I don't accept any of it. Go away.
Then it doesn't work. Yeah.
It doesn't work. No, it doesn't.
So anyway, in the slightly weirder side of the news then this week, Spotify may soon start to monitor your age, gender, and even emotional state. Now, how do you monitor age and gender? I mean, surely
I would imagine age
when you signed up.
Type of music that you're listening to. If you're listening to most of the rubbish in the charts, then you're going to be very young.
I
for the most part.
I enjoy messing with Spotify's algorithms, I have to say. Spotify does not know me at all, and it is wonderful. It suggests the weirdest stuff possible because it just doesn't get my music taste.
I mean, gender, I don't know. How's it going to tell gender?
Names?
Names?
Yeah, your name. That's a pretty good indication of gender, isn't it? Usually. Not always, but generally.
Not necessarily. You could have a completely random, non-gender specific name.
Yeah. Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so they're going to start monitoring all that stuff. They're going to be monitoring age, gender, and emotional state. Now, I guess the emotional state... Yeah,
What genders?
So emotional state I can kind of understand. Basically what they're saying is that when you're stressed, they're going to start playing you soothing music.
No, you play metal.
And so basically it's a case of just trying to understand people's... But I don't know how they can do that. I don't know how they're going to tell. Maybe it's based on the music that you're listening to at the time. Maybe if you're listening to thrash metal, then obviously they assume that you're in an angry state, stressed, angry, something like that. But then at the same time, not everybody reacts to those emotions by listening to the same sort of music, do they? Like some people react to being stressed/angry by listening to soothing classical music to try and calm themselves down. Some people react to the situations by playing the loudest, most obnoxious music known to man. So I don't know how they're gonna. Predict that. But I'll read the article anyway. The technical jargon is complex and involves extraction and intonation, stress, rhythm, and the likes of units of speech from the user's voice. Could use speech recognition to identify metadata points such as emotional. So they're going to monitor what you're talking about?
How? What?
It sounds all very dystopian.
Doesn't that mean that they need to have access to your mic?
It is needed to entirely different approach to collecting taste attributes of a user, particularly the one that's rooted in technology. Right, so essentially then Spotify wants us to have no say in our own music taste, never mind reflecting on our own life, face corporations. So Spotify has hundreds of inventions. I'm trying to just get the skinny here.
So further pushing the agenda of turning everybody into mindless automatons.
I don't know. I mean, I'm listening to my own music, and no matter what Spotify suggests to me, I usually just ignore it. Incidentally, if you haven't heard of Mary Schneider, you should listen to it. It's amazing. She's the Australian yodeling lady.
Oh, no.
But anyway, so there we go. I mean, that's... Yeah, so they're going to try and use technology to try and monitor your emotional state and then try and suggest music that would fit your...
Okay. I'd love to prove it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
Considering I mostly listen to metal or gaming sound, or just soundtracks in general.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's my emotional state?
Yeah, I don't think it's... I mean, clearly what they're saying is that they're going to try and use things like the microphone on your phone to sort of figure out your stress levels and then go, you sound stressed. Listen to some classical. And then, I don't know, Mozart comes up. Okay.
But then some classical can heighten your... not necessarily stress, but maybe psychopathic feelings or
psychopathic feelings. Do you have any? No.
Psychotic tendencies. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
That's why classical music sometimes works in really violent movies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It is. The thing is, it's entirely subjective and it's very personal, and there's no way that really you can predict that. I think it is something that's every person reacts to different situations in different ways. Some people don't even like listening to music when they're stressed.
I mean, I've heard people say that they consider Coldplay to be really depressing, whereas I don't. I find Coldplay to be quite uplifting. So
I can see Coldplay being quite depressing.
I can see where people are coming from, but I find it more uplifting.
All right, yeah.
So
it's entirely subjective. Yeah, exactly. It is entirely subjective. All right. Well, anyway, moving swiftly on. U.S. billionaire to pay for 3 people to go into space in first all-civilian flight later this year.
And it's not Musk.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Or Bezos.
SpaceX is aiming to send the first all-civilian mission to space. It's not really a mission to space.
I mean, SpaceX is Musk, but it's not Musk that's sending them. Somebody called Jared.
Can you really call it? Can you really call it a mission to space if all they do is just float around there for a bit and then come back? You know, all they're gonna do is just go on the Dragon for a bit and come back. I don't. Yeah, I think the term mission is possibly misused there. You know, I think they could probably say SpaceX is aiming to send 3 civilians up for a bit, for a bit of publicity.
Call it?
It's a publicity stunt.
Well, yeah.
So, SpaceX is sending 3 civilians up for publicity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's basically what it is. So the 4-place flight has been bought by billionaire Jared Isaacman, who's donating the 3 other seats to people in the general public to raise money for St. Jude's children. Right, so it's for a charitable thing. Fine. Right, there we go. Now it makes sense.
Do we know anything
Isaacman
about
hopes
this
to raise
guy?
at least $200 million for the medical facility. I want to use this moment to bring humanity together, fuel change on Earth, and inspire others to follow their dream.
So who is Jared Isaacman?
I don't know.
He's a billionaire businessman and pilot, apparently. CEO of Shift4 Payments, a payment processor. Okay.
Okay,
Fine.
well, he wants to... Yeah, okay, so he wants to raise a bit of publicity for his company and himself, raise his profile, give money to charity, and have a bit of fun, and give 3 people a chance to go to space that probably wouldn't be able to afford to do it themselves anyway.
What's he getting jealous of Musk and Bezos? Because they get all the publicity.
I don't know. I think... Yeah, whatever. I mean, so there we go. That's basically it. Oh, well, maybe...
What's Satya Nadella going to do it as well next?
I
Yeah,
am
for
not against billionaires donating money to charity. I'm never going to be against that.
But is this really a worthwhile charity, though? Sending a few people up into space?
That's not the charity. That's what they're doing to raise money for...
Oh, right, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Alright, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, well, there we go. So moving on, Europe signs...
He's hoping to raise 200 million.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it's going to be a lottery system, so everyone buys tickets.
How much are the space flights going to cost?
More than that.
Actually,
Actually, no, are they? I thought they were relatively reasonable. I have no idea. I can't say I've looked into it.
last week, a Houston company revealed the names of 3 businessmen who are paying $55 million a piece to fly to the International Space Station in January next year. So, anywhere up to 55 million, I guess.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Each. So, why not just donate it all to the hospital?
Because I guess they're hoping they could make more money. But surely this guy could afford it? No,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe he couldn't.
Yeah, he's a billionaire. Just give him 200 million anyway. It's not like he's going to go,
maybe
"Oh, I
he's
haven't got any million."
maybe he's hoping he'll raise more. Maybe the goal is to raise, 500. If they get enough people buying tickets.
Possibly.
Oh well, whatever. Well, here's some
Sorry.
good news. So on the following, continuing the space theme. So Europe signed an $86 million deal to bring space trash back, which is really good because I think we have a serious problem up there at the moment with, like decades and decades and decades of us sending stuff up there, satellites and all sorts of rubbish, all the rockets that sort of, all the different stages that sort of disassemble themselves and just float around up there for indefinitely. So over the course of the last 50 years or whatever, we built up a lot of rubbish, and it's just floating there, and it's a legitimate concern for a lot of things, like satellites that serve in low Earth orbit, or people actually trying to get up and down to the space station or whatever it is.
Sending new satellites up.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's having all that junk just floating around up there is causing problems, and I suspect it's probably caused a lot of damage as well over the years.
Potentially, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, basically it's a massive problem, and the European Space Agency says it's signing an $86 million contract with Swiss startup company to bring a large piece of orbital trash back to Earth. The agency said Thursday that a deal with company called Clear Space SA will
Swiss,
will lead to the first active debris removal mission in 2025, in which a custom-made spacecraft will capture and bring down part of a rocket once used to deliver a satellite into orbit. I've always thought that quite... I mean, sure, but that seems like a really roundabout way of doing it, doesn't it? You know, send something up to catch something and then bring it back again. It's kind of like a... I mean, when we've kind of got stuff up there, you know, already, why couldn't we use that to, you know... Why couldn't we have a little something up there that could attach little booster packs to these things just to boost them back into orbit again so they burn up in re-entry?
There's that, and could they recycle it in space? Could they be used to, I don't know, build other space stations? You know, maybe send it to the moon to help build habitation on the moon?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, rather than bringing
But the
it
amount of
back to
energy
Earth.
required to do that is something else entirely.
Yeah, but
you
then
know,
they've got to
fuel
send
and
a
energy.
rocket up from here, which obviously uses a lot of fuel anyway, and bring it back.
Yeah, but all I'm suggesting is that, I mean, maybe they could reuse the material in other ways, but it just seems like the amount of energy to you know, to melt the metal down and to turn it into something useful is going to be difficult to achieve, I think.
Well, I mean, what are they going to do with it when they get it back to the ground anyway?
It's probably just going to land in Africa somewhere and they're going to forget about it. It's going to land in somebody's back house or something, what's left of it, and it's just like...
So they may as well just recycle it in space.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Anyway, so I completely lost my train of thought now after all that. So basically, I think they should, you know, they've got people up on the ISS, right? So why don't they just do some spacewalks, attach some, like, little rocket boosters to these things, and just propel them back down to Earth so they just burn up in re-entry? You know, they literally got people up. They literally just send a rocket filled with these little booster whatevers to the ISS, and if it doesn't blow up the ISS or whatever in the process, they can do that to kind of nudge all the stuff back into orbit. I don't know. I'm not an orbital mechanic, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I had heard years ago there was speculation about maybe trying to shove it towards the sun. But I think obviously that wouldn't require a massive...
That would take more energy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To get it out of orbit and into...
Yeah.
You know... Whereas, you know, they could just probably just spacewalk out of the ISS and just kick some stuff down back to Earth or something while they're out there, you know?
Just give it a poke. It's like, there you go, back down to Earth.
That's it, you know. I just think, I don't know, maybe they could have some little drone or something that could refuel at the ISS and just kind of, you know, whenever stuff gets near close enough to the International Space Station, it sort of automatically launches and then sort of does whatever it needs to do to kind of poke it back into...
Massive tennis racket.
Yeah, basically. I don't know. It just seems like really silly making an entire rocket just to go up there to grab something and pull it back down again. It seems...
It does seem like a waste of fuel.
You know, I don't know. But obviously it is probably the most cost-effective way of doing it. Otherwise this company wouldn't have a purpose. Would probably be, if it wasn't viable. Because somebody would have done that. Somebody would have sat down and go, look, we have this idea to bring back trash from space. And
or maybe they're just capitalizing on the fact that it needs to be done.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, reading the article, experts have long warned that hundreds of thousands of pieces of space debris are circling the planet, including an astronaut's lost mirror. Those things pose a threat to functioning satellites and even the International Space Station. Several teams are working on ways to tackle the problem. The object being removed from orbit is so-called Vespa payload adapter that was used to hold and then release a satellite in 2013, and it weighs about 112 kilos.
Yeah. That's not that heavy, is it?
Well, not in space.
Well, I'm assuming they mean 112 kilos Gravity.
Yeah.
Because in space, it's not going to be 112 kilos, is it?
No. So yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I mean, obviously they have thought about it. Obviously, someone's done the. They've realized that this is a viable business, and at least I hope they have. Otherwise,
86 million down the drain.
yeah.
Oh well.
Anyway, so for those of you listening that know anything about your search engines, your IT sort of like your Googles and so on and so forth, there's been an ongoing joke for quite a while that one of the best search engines you can use, and on the flip side, probably one of the most invasive search engines you can use is Google, in terms of privacy and blah blah blah. But in exchange for that, you do get a very good search engine, but you pay for it with your data. So there have been lots of other, search engines that have popped up over the years. Yahoo, Alta Vista.
Well, they were around before Google anyway.
Yeah. Remember Alta Vista?
Yep. Still exists, I think.
Yeah. Ask Jeeves, all that kind of stuff going back.
That still exists as well.
Literally decades, yeah, Ask. So yeah, all these search engines are popped up. Most of them failed, and there's now only a couple.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of big ones, but.
And so Google are the dominant players. Everybody uses Google. Everyone's all aboard the Google train. And for the longest time, Bing has been sort of playing catch up. To
I don't use either.
Yeah. Well, neither do I. So basically, Bing has been playing catch up. Now, Bing is Microsoft's search engine, and it is awful in so many ways. But I think this is going to be quite interesting. I'll just read the article and then I'll explain why this is interesting. The Australian Prime Minister says Bing should replace Google, and this is a spat between the Australian government and Google.
Yeah.
Because Australia sees Google as violating copyright or something by linking to things and
they're basically wanting Google to pay for links to news sites, which is kind of against what the internet was created for.
Yeah, but you've got a whole bunch of people that have been desperately trying to make more money and get rid of net neutrality and trying to... but they've been trying to do that for ages, and I think America's unfortunately one step closer to achieving that. But so, Australian Prime Minister said on Monday that Microsoft is confident it can fill a void if Google carries out a threat to remove itself as a search engine from Australia in its entirety. This is obviously following on from their spat. So basically, the Australian government saying, right, well, if you don't do as we say and you pull out of Australia as a service, it doesn't bother us because we were just going to use Google, Bing.
Bing, yeah.
Now, here's what I find interesting, because Google isn't just a search engine.
No. It's lots of things.
This is what I think a lot of people are laughing about, because Stephen was in Australia last year, whenever it was, and there's so many services and so much tied into Google. It's literally not just a search engine. It is everything else. It's you look on your phone, you've got your public transport, for example, which will show you when all the buses are and how full they are and how late they're running. All that stuff is tied into Google. There's tons of other services there as well, not just a search engine. There's a whole ecosystem of software and services that people have come to rely on a daily basis that are tied into Google. Bing doesn't have that. It's not just a search engine. It's not just...
I mean, Microsoft have got the ecosystem.
Not to that extent.
Not to the extent... Well, definitely not in the mobile world. But in the PC world, they have got the ecosystem. But it doesn't tie in so well with Bing as the Google search engine and all their other stuff ties in.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying was, yeah, all these other services are going to be affected. It's not just the search engine itself, it's everything else that surrounds it and people rely on, like the traffic and the navigation and stuff like that.
Because what are they just literally going to stop people accessing Google in Australia?
Well, this is it. This is what I'm not clear on. Because if they did that, I'm pretty sure, that would just be awful. So Google executive told a Senate hearing last month that it would likely make its search engine unavailable in Australia if the government goes ahead with a draft law that would make the tech giant pay for news content. So, yeah, that's it. So basically...
This is different from the whole... their whole news area on Google. Because it's more to do with the links to that content rather than actual having the content on the news page, isn't it?
It doesn't say. It just says with a law that could make search giants pay for news content. So that would imply that they're using that content on their website.
Which they have been, they do.
Yeah, so basically they're saying you have to pay these people for the content if you're just if you're referring to it on your search engine.
Generally, it's a cut down version of the content, and you click it, and it links to the actual site.
So you basically got a whole bunch of news agencies that are probably saying, well, people don't go to our website, we're not getting the revenue we're getting because Google just seemed to steal our content and have it on their website.
And I think it's just that you've got rubbish content.
I think that's the fundamental argument. I think that's what's going on here.
I mean, it's case in point with our show. We have been finding it very difficult to find worthy content because most of it is rubbish.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison says he has spoken to Microsoft Chief Executive about a search engine filling the space. I can tell you Microsoft's pretty confident that Australians would not be worse off, Morrison told the National Press Club of Australia. These are big technology companies, and what's important to Australia, I think, is that we set the rules that are right for our people. Right. Having a news environment in this country that is one that is sustainable and is supported commercially, then this is vital to how democracies function.
No.
Although Bing is Australia's second most popular search engine, it only has 1.6% of the total market share, according to web analytics service StatCounter. Google holds 95%.
It makes sense, considering most of the searches are probably on mobile devices.
Microsoft statements confirmed that the online meeting had taken place and had revealed no details. We recognize the importance of vibrant media sector, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I don't know. I think that nothing's going to happen because I think some people are going to step up and go, you do realize it's not just about the Google search engine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens there. I just think it's one of those cases where I think a lack of, it's like all these, the prime minister and all these all these.
They don't understand how the technology works.
Yeah, they're politicians. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't understand, but they probably don't understand the intricacies. They get pulled into things they don't truly understand.
Yeah, because it's not the first place that they've done things like this. Because apparently they've signed an agreement in France to make way for a digital copyright payment deal. But I think the way that it's done in France is going to be completely different from what Australia is wanting.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with it. I mean, the reality of it is, I don't think Microsoft particularly care. I think they just like probably nothing will happen, but at least it's good publicity. So hey, yeah, our search engine is just as good as Google's because they know they'll never have to actually deliver on that.
Or alternatively, just use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, that's not bad. I tend to use that myself, but yep. Anyway, so what else is going on? Stadia news, I think. So we got 20 minutes until the end of the show, so we should have time to go through these couple of articles here. So Google is shutting down. All right, so Stadia, for those uninitiated listening to the show, is Google's attempt to create a home gaming console like the PlayStations and the Xboxes and so on.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's not as such a console. It's more of a game streaming service.
Uh-huh.
More akin to a Netflix for gaming.
Yeah,
Ish.
so
Except you pay for the titles as well.
Yeah, that's right. So it's all a cloud. I mean, NVIDIA have done similar sort of things. Effectively, you just pay for access to a service and you can play these games and stream it through there.
Well, with Stadia, you have to actually pay for the games as well. Obviously, with NVIDIA, you do as well. Microsoft is slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Stadia, you have to pay for the games separately from the streaming service. Although they do a similar thing to like games with Gold and PlayStation Plus, where you get free games, or free in inverted commas, because you're paying for the service every month or so. But yeah, this is Stadia was launched a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. So Google's shutting down its in-house Stadia game development studio. So basically, they're not going to develop any games themselves. They're just going to have other third-party games titles on its streaming service.
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing which I don't know. I'm kind of the reason why I'm kind of, what happens if you lose your internet connection? You want to play a computer game?
Well, a lot of games you can't play without an internet connection anyway.
Yeah, you still could on your PC.
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
A lot of them still require a...
But certainly on the old PlayStation that had a disc or whatever, you could just stick a disc in and there you go.
Yeah. Obviously, if you use something like GOG, obviously it's DRM free and you don't need to log into any websites or anything to use it.
So you still could, if you lost your internet. I mean, I'm not saying you probably will. It's extremely unlikely that you'll lose your internet connection, but the probability is, and even if it does happen, it'll probably just be for a few hours. I mean, you can read the book or watch something. You can probably watch something without the internet, but you could read a book.
Do some baking.
I don't know. It seems
some drawing.
It seems like
I would say listen to music, but you won't be able to do that because of the internet.
Yeah. So Google's shutting down its internal Stadia game development division. The company's announced it refocuses Stadia to be the home for streaming games from existing developers instead of developing its own games for the service. Creating best-in-class games from the ground up takes many years and significant investment, and the cost is going up exponentially. The article just goes on to say, given our focus on building the proven technology of Stadia, as well as deepening our business partnerships, we've decided that we will not be investing further in bringing exclusive content from our internal development team beyond any near-term planned releases.
Well, but that's fine. I mean, there's plenty of studios out there that could use the service. So... Why not?
I don't know. I just think it's going to be a case of, if you have a slow internet connection, it might not be the best thing. I mean, if you're in a situation where you've got lots of people all use in your local area, that can affect your bandwidth. There's things that can affect the performance of the game. The game
there are, but I think we're getting to the point where that is on a tipping scale.
But especially if you've got like a whole house full of people, imagine if you've got a big old family and You got two kids on streaming games. You got somebody watching Netflix. You got somebody streaming something else, and you got, a couple people playing on this there. You can see how it could potentially cause problems, and I mean that's one of my other concerns with it.
Well, yes, there is that, but in theory, internet connection speed should be increasing.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So,
I think, especially in rural areas where it's uneconomically viable. You're going to have all these services that are going to be like streaming only, and what happens to people that live in rural environments that can maybe only get like 2 or 3 megabits?
Well, that's another thing that's supposed to be being sorted out. Supposed to be.
You know for a fact it won't, though. Because it's not viable for people for companies to upgrade the infrastructure in those areas, because there's only like a couple of people using it. So they'd have to potentially lay £100,000 worth of infrastructure and digging up the roads and all the rest of it for like 2 or 3 houses to have a decent internet. It's just not viable. So there will be.
They have to though. There was a government thing that said that they have to upgrade.
I think that's been shelved.
Rural areas. So
I think that's been shelved.
I don't know. I don't really follow it because I don't live in rural areas. But
I think that one's been shelved. I think the reality is that most people are going to have to use like phone streaming. Yeah, or phones like getting 5G.
Well, if you're in a rural area, the chances are that 5G on a phone is not going to be
that great either.
Viable option either. Or even 4G for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But that's you see what you got. You see what you got in these problems. It's like it's not just Stadia. It's the fact that everything like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Spotify, Stadia, most of these streaming services are all reliant on having a decent internet connection. So if you live in a rural area and you don't have a decent connection and you can't get a decent connection, you're immediately excluded from all these things.
It's not actually true because most of the services Prime and Netflix and Spotify, you can run them on relatively low connections. Most areas, at least in the UK, can probably get at least 10 meg. There might be a few outliers, I don't know. But
I know a lot of people that have got really bad internet connections and they just can't get better ones. I know people on 3 megabit.
Living where?
In Dorset. Just rural areas like small villages and stuff.
Okay.
It is just, it's.
That doesn't sound right.
I mean, admittedly, those people, there are not very many of them, but a majority of people do have access to reasonable internet, but not everyone does.
Yeah. But then Stadia isn't designed for everyone, is it, really? Because it's mostly designed for gamers. And gamers are mostly going to be living in areas that have got a decent connection.
Meh.
Mostly. But, yeah. They can wait for Starlink, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to have to, I think.
When all of those satellites are up there and Elon decides that the whole world can have it rather than just a few areas.
All right, so what do we got? We got a couple more articles here that are probably worth... I mean, this is I'd like to know how they do this. So... Xiaomi, the Chinese mobile phone manufacturer.
Yep.
Are they allowed to sell phones here or in America?
Yeah.
Wasn't that? Or was that just...
I think Xiaomi were recently put on the ban list in America, weren't they? Just before the inauguration, actually.
Right. So we can't use. So we're probably going to be on the back of that as well. So we're not like we'll see any of this anyway.
Depends on what our government decides, but yeah, probably.
They'll just do whatever America does.
Yeah, exactly.
So Xiaomi's remote wireless charging powers up your phone from across the room.
Yes, I saw this. This was interesting.
So they call it the Mi Air Charge.
Yeah.
Promises to power your phone at 5 watts from up to several meters away through objects.
It's very slow. It's a very slow charging speed, but when you can just be in the room and it just charges your phone. Sounds
dangerous. Sounds like you're going to get microwaved alive, honestly. It does sound like that. So inductive wireless charge. It's only because I don't understand the technology. Probably, I'm sure it's safe.
Exactly.
But the uninformed, because I'm uninformed, it just sounds like you walk into a sort of microwave. So inductive wireless charging that works via pads and coils is not available everywhere or on every device. Yeah, obviously. But that's a non-statement. Xiaomi is teasing a leap in the next remote wireless charging. Could energize devices from several meters away, and Xiaomi is touting its approach dubbed Mi Air Charge technology.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen remote wireless charging equipment before. Apparently, it has been used in the past. I think it was introduced, demonstrated in 2015. However, they haven't come to market yet. While Xiaomi isn't talking about any specifics as far as a release date or compatible hardware, showing off a demo and talking about its 17 patents it has, which is more than apparently a lot of other phone manufacturers have said. So, charge technology is a 5-watt charging system. Think of tiny chargers Apple used to include with iPhones. That uses 144 antennas in the base station, sending millimeter-wide waves to your phone, which receives them on a 14 antenna array of its own. Xiaomi is claiming its tech is not science fiction, will eventually charge multiple devices at once, and is capable of passing through physical objects.
So, like tables and chairs, I guess, rather than walls.
Yeah.
Send
power to all kinds. So it still doesn't explain how it works. I mean, we're talking about microwaves.
Well, I don't know.
We are. Millimeter wide waves.
Yeah, but it won't be microwaves as like the microwaves that you use in a microwave.
Well,
It'd be on a completely different spectrum.
Yeah. But still. Ooh, you're gonna have people going. You're gonna get all the conspiracy theorists coming out of the woodwork with this.
Well, the tinfoil hat guys, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't enough to pull down on the 5G masks, it apparently.
Well, I mean, if they release it here in this neck of the woods, obviously it's safe. So, or at least safe enough.
It'll have to go through stringent.
Yeah, exactly.
Testing, obviously.
There's a couple other things here, but I think we're really running out of time already. It's we've only got about 8 minutes. We still need to talk about our movie of the week, so I think we'll leave it there for the news. I mean, there's a few other things I don't. Well, we can probably talk about them next week, to be honest with you. So yeah, our movie of the week then. I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah. Sorry to bother you.
Yes.
It is the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we are sorry to bother you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was on Netflix, wasn't it? This one.
It's this one is on. Yeah, it's on Netflix. I think it was 2018 movie, and I seem to remember seeing the trailer when it came out and thinking, what's going on with those guys' voices?
Yeah, it's.
The cast is predominantly black, and it follows this guy who's initially starts off down on his luck. He hasn't got a job, so he goes and takes this job at this essentially a cold cooling firm, and he's struggling to make any sales and doesn't know why. And then one of his colleagues mentions to him that he has to use his white man voice, which is obviously a dub over his real voice.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because of all the. I did notice that all the lip syncing was out of sync.
It was really weird.
Wow.
So he starts using this voice, and then suddenly starts becoming a star salesperson. Yeah. And quickly gets promoted up to their what do they call them?
The power coolers.
Power cooler suite, yeah. Which is.
So now here comes the other thing, and I think this kind of I think they were taking a dig at Amazon with this Do you know what I mean? They're taking a dig at Amazon. So obviously they're talking about that company.
No? What do you mean?
I'm talking about I forget the name of the company. The company that were the bad guys in this.
Well, there was Worry Free.
Yeah, that's them.
It's one of them.
They were kind of. I think they're always meant to be a kind of dystopian Amazon, in my opinion. So basically, what they were doing, that the economy had basically crashed in this society. There was one company that was seemingly all powerful.
Yeah, because there was Regal View was one of the companies that he started working for, which is a arm of Worry Free Corporation.
Yeah. So basically, Worry Free are basically an Amazon. You know, you buy stuff, they send it to you, etc., etc. That's basically what they are. But the entire economy has completely crashed, and this company was so powerful, the only way that people could possibly get any kind of reliable income was to work for this company called Worry Free.
Yeah.
So I think they were definitely saying this is kind of like what's going to be with Amazon.
I think it's a lot of companies in general. It's the way that the internet society has become.
But it's just this particular company in specific in particular because obviously they do all the whole packing, sending, shipping, warehouse type deal. It's basically Amazon. The whole white and blue logos and everything else. It was basically Amazon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. Yeah, so basically this company had become all powerful. I think that's really what this movie was about. And so this company did more and more egregious things that were sort of discovered as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
And there was some really weird stuff. So it's basically a story in my mind about how a company can become all powerful. They can literally get away with anything they want.
Yes, that's what it is ultimately, isn't it? Yeah. And the main theme is how corrupt capitalism becomes, basically.
Mm-hmm. So the guy gets promoted, and obviously, he's kind of conflicted by it because I think everyone knows that the company's evil, and they're obviously doing something shady. But he really does want to make money.
It's also the fact that
himself.
His girlfriend, who is very anti-capitalism, and a lot of his friends who he used to work with when he was in the main call center have now gone on strike and picketing outside.
And he's doing well for himself.
Lost touch with them.
Yeah, and so he gets drawn into the inner sanctum of this company, and then he finds out that they are truly evil, and basically the whole idea being that throughout the entire movie you see all these billboards and TV adverts saying, oh, come work for us, you know, you don't have a salary, but everything is taken care of, your accommodation, your food, your everything you could ever want in exchange for you working for us for a lifetime contract.
Basically,
yeah. And so I mean, it's obviously really dystopian. You look at the TV adverts, there's obviously something really shady going on about there. Because you see it in people's faces, they're just like, don't believe them, this is awful, really. and it's like that. And so everyone kind of knows that the company is evil, but nobody has the power to fight them. Yeah.
I mean, it's evil down to the point that they are experimenting with genetic modification of humans.
Yeah, later on we discover that towards the end. And so he gets sucked into all of this, and at first he's like, well, all right, so they're a little evil. I can probably live with it. You know, but it turns out that they're not just a little evil. They're literally turning people into monsters to, you know, pack boxes faster.
Yeah.
And at that point he realizes he has a change of conscience. And he's like, actually, no, I'm going to fight against the machine, rawr. And then he sort of rejoins his friends, and he sort of,
doesn't really take them down, but sort of.
I think towards the end, I mean, there was, you know, they were pretty much, he gets turned into one of these monsters himself.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, he sort of barges into this guy's mansion that owns the company. So I think the implication is there that he went on and killed the guy.
don't know. Really,
we don't know. That was
it's
the last
implied.
scene. Yeah.
I mean, but you take out a head of a company, that doesn't mean that the company's gone.
No, but he was the one that was doing all this. He was the one that masterminded this whole thing. Yeah. So I think he sort of got revenge. I don't know. It's I mean, I thought it was. I mean, it was really weird. I didn't really. I don't have an opinion on it. In all honesty, is that weird? I don't.
As I said before,
I understand.
I don't think it's a film that is designed to be liked.
I think it's a social commentary.
It is a social commentary, yeah.
That's
the thing, the whole thing behind it. You don't have to like the movie, but you can get the ideas behind it.
Because it is all about that, yeah. And from that perspective, it's probably true. I think that, it's...
I mean, hopefully companies like Amazon aren't doing the genetic
like
modifications, but...
Well, they're not at the moment, but who's to say in like 50 years' time, they could say, right, so we need to increase efficiency on our packing lines, so we're now all going to become cybernetically augmented, so we're going to give you robotic arms so you can pack them boxes faster.
Surely it's just easier just to use robots.
I don't know.
Which I think they're doing anyway, but still...
I'm giving you an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so... do we recommend it? Like I said, I don't... If
you're interested in something that's social commentary-wise, yes. If you want entertainment, no.
I didn't find it particularly funny. I mean, towards the end, it got really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, really weird.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's like it sort of teeters for the whole duration of the movie, and like right towards the end, it just goes, we're just gonna get on this crazy train, choo choo, and then it yeah. All aboard the crazy train. So yeah, towards the end, I was just looking on in confused horror. And then the film ended, and I'm just like, well, that was a thing.
Yeah. I was pretty much like that at the end as well. Like, so that just happened.
So yeah, that was your pick. I'll see if I can pick a movie next week. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'll pick anything better, but we'll see. Anyway, that is it from us this evening. Thank you very much indeed for listening / watching on YouTube / Twitch or wherever it is you're watching / listening. As always, don't forget, you can head over to our website, flyinglamastudios.net. That's flyinglamastudios.net. You can check out our SoundCloud page if you'd like to listen to the podcast version of the show. And thank you once again to Forest FM and all our listeners on there. And so from the both of us, take care. Try and have a good weekend. I don't know, do something fun, bake a cake or something, I don't know. But yeah, from both of us, take care, stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you next week. See you next time. Bye.
This was a Flying Llama Studios production. No llamas were harmed in the making of this program.